All right, everybody, welcome to episode 20 of Celtics Life Live. They've been a little bit more sporadic this season with, I guess, everyone's crazy schedules. But today we are discussing the Jeff Green trade, the Brandon Wright trade, and just the overall direction of the Celtics rebuild. I am joined by Celtics Life writers Eric Bleisdale and Mark Van Heusen. What's going on, guys?
Hello.
Hey.
All right, so we have a lot to talk about, obviously, before tonight's game with the Hornets that tips off in about 45 minutes. I want to start off with the Jeff Green trade. Jeff Green, three-team deal, shipped to Memphis. We have Austin Rivers, Tayshaun Prince, and a future first-round pick that looks like it won't come until 2019 from the Grizzlies. But, of course, we have Austin Rivers, who's not even reporting right now because his dad, Doc, is trying to trade for him, which I do want to talk about as well because that tells me a little bit about Doc, the GM, and I don't think it's a good thing necessarily. But I want to start. Let's start with Eric. Eric, your overall thoughts on the Green trade. I give it a grade, obviously recognizing the fact that you can't fully grade trades until they are probably a couple of years down the road. But what are your thoughts on the Green trade?
I give it a B+. I mean, there was a point when I was a little worried whether or not the Celtics were even going to get a first-rounder for Green. They got one, and they don't have to worry about, are they going to re-sign him? Is he going to opt out? Is he going to opt in? Which, from my perspective, I wouldn't have necessarily been too happy with. But after Rondo was gone, this is a move that had to happen. There was no real point to have a 28-year-old hang around with a bunch of kids as they all develop, and he's still looking for his ring. So I mean, I'm happy with what they got. I'm happy that this is the direction they're going. I wanted the youth movement. I know a lot of other people wanted to try with Rondo, wanted to keep rebuilding, re-up with Rondo, keep Jeff Green. But this is what I wanted, and I'm very happy. This is the youth movement. It's going to take longer, but I think it's going to pay off in the end.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a good deal. The Rondo trade, I think we were all kind of left wondering, did they get enough? For Green, you know, he had the $9 million player option for next year, which I think, considering even though he's been a little bit down lately, he's opting out of that contract. We saw Avery Bradley get $8 million last year. We saw Channing Frye get $8 million last year. We saw Jody Meeks get over $6 million last year. Jeff Green is going to get $8 or $9 million a year for probably 4 years this summer. And the Celtics were not going to re-up with a 29-year-old Jeff Green. It just wasn't going to happen. It doesn't fit their rebuilding plan. So he was going to leave, and they end up getting a first-round pick. Granted, it's going to be in about 4 years. The way it's going to work is Memphis already owes an outgoing first-round pick, which now is in Denver's hands. Went to Cleveland, now to Denver in the Mozgov deal. So they need to pay that debt before they can give the Celtics a first-round pick. 2019 is the most likely scenario. It could be 2018. It could be 2020, which is even further down the line. But they got a first-round pick for it. Tayshaun Prince is obviously just a salary equalizer. He probably will be bought out, although the decision hasn't been made. And then you have Austin Rivers, who they'll probably end up getting a second-round pick for. So it looks like they'll end up getting a first-round pick down the line, a second-round pick. They take no salary back beyond this year. I'd like to give this trade about a B. I think it's above average. After seeing Timofey Mozgov go for 2 first-round picks, I can't give it an A. But I'll give it a solid B. I think Ainge did a good job here. Mark, let's go to you. Your thoughts on the Green trade.
Yeah, if I was going to give it a grade, I think I'm right in the same area as you guys, probably B+, maybe even A-. Honestly, I mean, going back to last year, I thought we should take anything we could get for Jeff Green. Heading into this year, I thought he had negative trade value. I thought we were going to have to take on salary or, who knows, maybe include something else just to move him on to another team. So the fact that we really get anything from him in return isn't bad at all. I mean, he's a solid player, but he's not anything like – he wasn't going to be a part of the development going forward. He wasn't going to be a guy that we needed for the rebuild. And I think – I don't want to say addition by subtraction because that doesn't sound fair to him, but like just moving on, you know? It's time to move on, time to start over. And the fact that we're able to get anything for him, honestly, I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on that. Not quite as divisive as the Rondo trade. Honestly, looking at Celtics Twitter, I saw very little, oh my God, I can't believe they traded Jeff Green. And I think that kind of points to the Jeff Green era. And real quick, I want to touch on that. If you were to describe Jeff Green's really 4 seasons in Boston, because you can't count the season, obviously, he missed with heart surgery. Give me your 1-word or 3-word or 1 sentence that best sums up the Jeff Green era. I said this the other night on Twitter. Mine wouldn't even be words. I'd just kind of shrug and go, because I think it was disappointing, but the trade got too much crap when it happened. Kendrick Perkins is, and forever will be the rest of his NBA career, kind of toast, right? He lost his ability to be a productive player. You got Jeff Green in a first-round pick for him. I think that trade was probably a good one, but Jeff Green never lived up to what everyone hoped he could be. It clearly didn't work out. So I don't think the trade was terrible at all, but obviously it just didn't work out. If I were to describe Jeff Green, I would just kind of go like that. Let's go back to you, Mark. What do you think?
About probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I'd complain about Jeff Green a lot. I kind of think it was missed potential. And somebody sent me a tweet, and I wish I had it in front of me because the quote was brilliant, and I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but it was something like, Jeff Green is like voting, like you feel obligated to do it, but you know it doesn't really matter. Like you want to like him, and you like his potential, and it makes sense, but in the long run, no big deal, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try to go back and find that tweet right now because I definitely didn't quote it right, and it was perfect. And I favorited it, and I've been saving it to use it, and I just remembered I should have looked it up earlier.
I do like that. Eric,
maybe I can find it right now.
Okay.
My word is going to be maddening because that's exactly what this guy was. I loved and still love the Perkins trade. I think it was the right move at the time. People want to say, oh, well, Shaq and Jermaine O'Neal didn't work out. Perkins didn't come back and have anything special that season. So people want to say that cost him a title. What did Perkins actually do that season after the trade in OKC? Not a lot. What has he ever done in OKC? Not a lot. So I thought the trade made sense. You get a nice young wing to build with. I liked a lot of the things that Jeff Green could do, and I continued to like all the things that Jeff Green could do. And then it just kind of like I got a little annoyed, then I got frustrated, then I got angry, and then I just got apathetic. I'm like, whatever, Jeff Green. Like this is what you're gonna do. Go out, score 30 one night, and then score 4 the next. Like dunk on everybody in the world, and then you don't even know Jeff Green's in the game. So it's maddening because he has so much potential. He has so much talent. He could do. He is so skilled, and yet he just doesn't bring it every single night. The mindset isn't there. So as much as I supported the Jeff Green trade, it didn't work out. But these things happen.
Right.
It's not his fault that they didn't win another ring. It's just they tried and it didn't work out. And I'm glad that we're going with the youth movement.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Mark, you got your quote there. You're still looking.
I'm so close. Give me like 30 more seconds, and I'll have
All right. I will talk about something I do want to talk about real quick about Green. That the Jeff Green trade killed the 2011 Celtics. That is bullshit. Because the 2011 Celtics did slump immediately after the Perkins trade. Then they played really well at the end of the regular season. Then they swept the New York Knicks straight out of the playoffs. And then they ran into trouble with the Miami Heat, especially after Rajon Rondo blew out his elbow on the floor. Now, if there's anyone out there who thinks Kendrick Perkins, the shell of a player who was always kind of a niche player, he played defense, he set picks, do you really think Kendrick Perkins, once Rondo went down, was going to make the difference between losing 4-1 to the Heat, who were rolling, by the way, in the 2011 playoffs until the finals? He would make 3 games worth of difference? That's insane. They were always going to lose to the Heat that year unless they played fantastic, and as soon as Rondo went down, their chances of playing fantastic went down. So that trade never killed the Celtics. And the next year, without Perkins, they got within a whisker of the NBA Finals. So it most definitely did not kill the 2011 Celtics. Mark, do you got it?
I'm sorry, no.
All right, no,
Maybe I unfavored it at some point. But
That's,
the point is there about Jeff Green. I mean, I think we all agree. It's so much potential and so much raw athletic talent. And I think it's really funny that everybody's saying right now, like, oh, yeah, he'll go to Memphis and he'll be the perfect third or fourth guy. No, that's what we got him for in the first place. Like, he had his chance at that. It's not happening. So in that sense, I'm glad we got rid of him.
Yeah, I think he's better than Tayshaun Prince, so in that way I look at it as a positive for Memphis, but he's not going to go there and excel. Yeah, he's not. It's just not going to happen.
No, it's definitely a good deal for them. Like, they're a better team now than they were, but he's not going to, like, bust out. Like, he's not going to all of a sudden emerge.
No. All right, let's talk about the Brandon Wright deal, because I have great news for you guys and I have bad news about the Brandon Wright deal. The great news is we have the Minnesota Timberwolves first-round pick this year, right? And that's awesome. Because they suck. They have 5 wins. They have the second worst record in the NBA. The bad news is it's protected, and the Celtics don't get it unless the T-Wolves are in the playoffs. And next year they don't get it unless the T-Wolves are not in the top 12 of the lottery, meaning they need to be one of the 2 best teams not to make the playoffs or in the playoffs. And then it becomes 2 second-round picks, which would be 2016 and 2017, unless, again, the T-Wolves go on a magical playoff run next year, which I would put the odds of that well below 10%. Never say never. We saw the Phoenix Suns get into one of those last 2 lottery spots last year after being projected for a 20-win team. So you can never say never, but chances are this will be 2 second-round picks, again, 2016, 2017, for Brandon Wright. I do kind of wish they gave Brandon Wright a chance. I know he's 27, so he's not 22, but he has very little tread on the tires. He's an elite defensive center, and they were looking for that, and then they gave him away pretty quick, and they had until the trade deadline. I think more contenders would have lined up for him, so I would have liked to see them either wait for a surefire first-round pick or wait it out a little bit. So I was a little bit confused about getting Wright, having him fill a need, having him be pretty young, and then immediately trading him without giving him any kind of a chance. But the return is decent. I'd probably give the return a C+. Eric, what do you think about the Wright deal?
I mean, you pretty much added onto the Rondo deal. I mean,
right.
You add those 2 second-rounders onto what you got for Rondo. You got a first and 2 seconds for Rondo.
Plus Crowder. Crowder could play a little bit.
Right, and he's going to be restricted at the end of the season, I think.
Yep.
Or yeah, okay. But I think this was Ainge's plan the whole time. I think he got right knowing that bigs are going to be a priority. I don't think he saw this as some guy that he's going to try to work into the fold. I think he saw this as a decent backup, which he'll be in Phoenix. And I think that he could have been a nice player here, but he's going to be a free agent, and how much money is he going to want this summer? And are they going to be willing to pay that when they can go out and get some real, more legitimate talent than just maybe a fringe starting center? So, I mean, 2 second-rounders for that, for an expiring deal, that's not too bad.
No, it's not, and I think you're absolutely right. It certainly was Ainge's. There's no doubt it was Ainge's plan, or else they would have played him. Because they weren't even playing right in the 6 games he was here. He was getting DNPs, and I'm like, have you guys seen this guy play on Dallas? He's one of the most efficient players in the league, so it was clearly the plan. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think pretty much the same thing, and it definitely, if you look at the Rondo trade, that's how you got to examine the whole situation. When we got Brandon Wright, I never really thought of him as an asset that we were getting. I looked at that, he's a free agent, he's probably going to sign somewhere else. They may not even really try to re-sign him. And I figured they would try to package him after this. I think it's 60 days you have to wait till you can move him in a deal with somebody else.
Correct.
So I was kind of surprised they were able to move him on his own so quickly. And honestly, the return's not that bad. I think there's a decent shot Minnesota could be outside the bottom 12 next year. I mean, Wiggins is probably the rookie of the year.
Yep.
Maybe they get the number 1 pick again this year, or top 3 they're looking like right now with the Knicks and Philly. I don't think it's a great shot, but I think there's a chance.
Yep.
And considering that I'd already sort of written him off as nothing right from the beginning, I think that's a pretty good pull. But it is kind of sad that we never even really saw what he did. And it's funny, the last game he was in town, Steven said after the game, Brandon Wright's got to play. And then they traded him the next day because he had the DNP, and that was when Stevens cut down from his 13-man rotation to like a 11-man rotation or something. And Wright was the guy who missed out, and he was feeling bad he didn't even get to play him. So I would have liked to see what he could do, but I don't know. I never really got a chance to get too attached to him at all, and I never really factored him in as something they had as an asset. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, and Eric, I think you're right. It certainly adds to the Rondo deal. If you get 2 early seconds, a late first, and Crowder, who looks like a rotation guy, I think, if they decide to keep him, if they end up letting him walk for nothing, then it changes the formula a little bit. But I do like Crowder. He brings a lot of energy. He actually reminds me of Gerald Wallace if Gerald Wallace was still alive, because we unfortunately have the corpse of Gerald Wallace. But he plays with a lot of energy. He does a lot of different things. So I do like Crowder a little bit. Let's talk about who's next to go. Obviously, Brandon Bass is the name everybody wants to talk about, but I've said this before, Eric, I think the last time, I won't believe Brandon Bass gets traded until he's traded, because I've said he's going to get traded 700 times. I'm an unabashed Bass supporter. I think he's a very good role player. I don't know why he's still here. I cannot figure it out. He makes a little more money than Wright, who was just easily traded. He makes less money than some of the other guys we've seen dealt, whether it be Jeff Green or Rondo. And I know Rondo's in a different class because he's a very valuable player. But Bass is very perplexing to me. With 6 weeks to go before the deadline, will Bass be dealt? If so, what's the reasonable expectation? Another second rounder? I mean, Austin Rivers is going to go for a second rounder. Austin Rivers sucks. He is terrible. Brandon Bass can play. Like, he has legitimate NBA skills. You give him 15 to 20 minutes on a contender, he will make your team better. Austin Rivers, oh my God. What do you guys think? What are we getting for Bass? I think all of us would agree they're going to try really hard to deal him. And then I guess if they don't deal him, he gets bought out the day after, right? Day after the deadline. He needs to, I think. Let's go to Mark this time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked he's still here, to tell you the truth. I thought they would have dealt him 2 years ago, maybe. And both going into the last 2 playoffs or going into the trade deadline the last 2 years, I thought, wow, Bass is a good guy. He can contribute. He's the perfect backup big man for a team that needs like a guy coming off the bench to just add some hustle and energy for a few minutes.
He can shoot. He can shoot. He can play defense.
He's one of the best free throw shooters on the team.
I know.
The one thing he does that no one else on our team does that I love is he gets the ball down low, he goes up strong and dunks with 2 hands. Everyone else, like Kelly Olynyk with his finger rolls and Sellinger with his little fall-away moves. Bass is like a regular, old-fashioned, hard-working big man. And going all the way back to when we first got him for Big Baby Davis, I'm like, wow, that was a steal. Bass is a much better player than Davis. But honestly, the fact that we haven't been able to deal him so far, it's really confusing, and I'm not sure what they're going to get for him. I mean, I kind of thought the same thing about Rondo, though. Like, I thought we would have got more for him, and I also kept thinking, well, they never trade him, so I'll believe they're going to trade him when they actually do. And that finally happened. So maybe it really is Bass's turn now. There's no way we'll get a first-round pick. I think probably a second-round pick and maybe a young guy with a slightly better contract that, again, we don't really look for as anything that's going to matter on the team going forward. I think it's kind of the same situation as Green, where we should just let him go because he can be more valuable somewhere else. And even though cap room's not that valuable, we can still get a little bit and maybe get another pick that can be added in something else and another deal later. But I don't think we should expect to get anything we really care about.
Yep. Eric, what do you think?
It's really confusing. I don't know why Brandon Bass is still on this team. I don't think he's going to be by the end of this season. I think he's either going to be traded or released so we can play somewhere else. What I would take back for him, I'd take back a second and a trade exception. I mean, those are very valuable, and so why not just try to get whatever we can? I don't think. You would think that with all of his abilities, with all that automatic mid-range shot, with his abilities defensively, he can guard 3s and 4s, that he would have a lot more value. There would be more chatter, but there's nothing. And there hasn't anything for the past two or 3 years. So I just don't – I don't think he's going to be on the team. It might have to come down to a deadline deal, but it's really confusing. I wish somebody would explain to me why, like, there's no chatter on Bass. Like, what the rest of the league's problem is with Brandon Bass? Did Dwight Howard tell him something about him that everybody hates him now? Like, I don't understand why nobody wants him.
Yeah, it's really weird to me. He plays defense, like I said. He rebounds. He goes up strong. He dunks the ball. He is explosive up to the rim. You don't think he can dunk the ball sometimes from some of the angles he's at with guys around him, and he goes up strong and he finishes. But he's also going to turn 30 in March or April, so he's definitely not going to be someone they re-sign, I hope, because I don't want to talk about him for 3 more years as much as I like him. I really don't want to talk about Brandon Bass anymore. And that actually brings me to I'm happy Jeff Green is gone, not even because I disliked him, and I'm not happy necessarily Rondo's gone, but I'm relieved. I was so sick of talking about potential trades for those guys, and it's like this weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm sure you guys' shoulders, a lot of fans' shoulders. It was kind of exhausting, and now you really feel like, okay, the Celtics were kind of this ship out in the ocean, and they didn't have a direction for a while. It was clear they were somewhat rebuilding, but you didn't know exactly how they were going to go. And now at least we're setting off. And unfortunately we're setting off into this very kind of murky waters, and there might be a few storms, but we know which way we're going. And I think there's a little bit of that where you just kind of take a deep breath and say, okay, we're ready. We're all holds barred into the rebuild. And that just is kind of where I want to go next with this. Danny Ainge, in 18 months since the Pierce KG era ended, has acquired 6 first-round picks and 6 second-round picks. They have, right now, at this moment, what would be, obviously with the lottery not finalized, would have the 7th pick and the 21st pick in this year's draft, plus the 33rd, 37th, and 52nd picks in the second round. So 5 picks, including 4 of the top 37. Not bad right there. They also have 3 first-round picks next year and 4 seconds. They have 1 first-round pick in 2017, with the right to swap with Brooklyn, plus 2 second-round picks in 2017. And then they have 2 second-round picks in 2018, as well as 2 firsts and 1 second in 2018, giving them 9, plus the Memphis pick where we don't know exactly where it's going, which gives them, over the next 4 drafts, 9 firsts, 10 seconds. They also have only $34 million in salary tied up for next season for 8 players. Gerald Wallace, Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart, Evan Turner, Kelly Olynyk, Tyler Zeller, James Young, and Jared Sullinger. They also have a $1 million option on Pressey if they pick it up. That's $34 million for 9 players. That gives them about $33, depending on where the cap falls, $1 million in cap space, which some of that will be eaten into by their rookies. But a ton of cap space, a very young roster outside of old man Wallace chilling on the end of the bench, 1 million first-round picks and 1 million second-round picks. That said, no upper echelon talent. No one we know is a top 3 guy on a good team. Some guys who could grow into that. Marcus Smart, I know, Eric, you're 100% on board with that. But we don't know that yet. James Young, maybe. We don't know that yet. Jared Sullinger, maybe the 3rd best guy. He'll need to really improve. What do you guys think? What are the first 18 months? Are you disappointed? Are you devastated? Are you happy? Where are you? I'll go last. I just kind of laid it out there, but I didn't give my opinion. But I think you guys know which way I'm leaning. Eric, let's go with you. 18 months in, how is Ainge doing?
Oh, ecstatic. I am ecstatic with this. I mean, of course, there's things here and there that I would have liked different, but I wanted Marcus Smart. We got Marcus Smart. I didn't want to build with Rondo. Rondo's not here. I wanted to get rid of Jeff Green. Jeff Green's gone. So we got all these picks. We fleeced Brooklyn, getting rid of Paul and KG. As much as everybody didn't want to see that happen, they fleeced Brooklyn. People have to remember that. Yep. We have James Young that everybody loves. We have him because of that Brooklyn trade. And So, yeah, I'm really happy. This is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to try let's try to cobble it together with Rondo and see if we can get a free agent. Maybe let's see if that works, because I didn't have any faith that that would work. They would turn into the Atlanta Hawks to me, and that's not what I want them to do.
Well,
If
now
you're
that would be
not-
awesome. The Hawks are awesome. They're the best team ever. They're like 25-2 their last 27 games.
Okay, the Atlanta Hawks of the 2000 to 2010 range back then. But yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I wanted, so I couldn't be happier. I mean, we'll see what happens with the draft picks. We'll see if Ainge can strike gold, but this is what I wanted. He's doing it, and so I'm good. I'm happy.
Mark.
I think getting younger is definitely good. Stockpiling all the draft picks is good. Clearing the cap space, all good things. But that's the easy part. Like,
You're correct. You said that today on Twitter. You're right.
yeah, we were talking about that earlier today. I like the direction, and it's all the right things to be doing, and it's all a good start. But it's basically just putting off the rebuild, which is kind of what's been happening for a while. And even though it's more concrete now, like the one thing he's always done is keep the options open, and there are so many options on the table. And that's a better spot to be in than we were. But I don't know. I'm not convinced that there's any great options in the foreseeable future that's going to really turn things around. I mean, there's a lot of teams that bottom out. Maybe they don't get quite this many draft picks, but I mean, haven't really thought this through, but can you think of a team that really just started with draft picks and used them all to get good? They're going to have to make another trade and sign a free agent, and it's going to have to be a combination of all these things to get back to being an elite team, and that's a lot of work. Like I'm happy with the way things are going, but I think that's only like 10 to 15% of the bigger picture. And I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to rebound and be good again. I mean, they already did it once within the last 10 years. To try to do that twice in this span of time, they're going to have to be really lucky, I think.
Well, they are going to have to be lucky to some degree. I think Ainge has done a very good job. I'm not going to say great, because Ainge's tenure here, obviously he's already had a successful tenure. He won a championship. But Ainge's future here, this rebuild, is going to come down to how he drafts, how he turns these draft picks. How good is Marcus Smart? How good is James Young? How good is they could get the first pick in this draft. They could get the fourth pick. They could get the eighth pick. How good is that player? Of the four other picks they have in this draft, can they hit on one of them to be a big-time contributor? Next year, are the Nets going to suck? I think they might suck horribly. Prokhorov is trying to sell that team. I don't think people understand how good those draft picks look. They, if they want, have the next 3 Nets draft picks after this year, and Prokhorov is trying to sell the team. He is trying to lower the salary so it looks more attractive to buyers. They could be terrible, and he doesn't care about the draft picks because he's trying to sell the team. He has that arena. He's going to make a ton of money. But that right there could be an absolutely colossal windfall just of what the Celtics could pick up in that deal. This is what I think the Celtics are trying to do. They understand the draft is somewhat of a crapshoot. Even if you're the best drafting team, it is. I think the Celtics are. Ainge is probably a little better than middle of the pack as a drafter. I think he's about the 10th best drafting GM. I think they actually did a study on ESPN last year, and he ranked around there. He's not elite like the Spurs. He also hasn't had a lot of high picks to use. So what he's doing is he's taking a bunch of different. He's setting himself up to take a bunch of different swings at the piñata, hoping to crack it open a few times with all these picks. And in the meantime, what he's doing is making the roster young, allowing Brad Stevens to really mold the team, something he wasn't going to do fully while Rondo was there. And I think Rondo was a good team player, but Rondo had the imprints of the last run. And now Stevens has a young team. Ainge has lowered the average age from 30.2 to 26.1. If, and I think it will happen, Jameer Nelson and Tayshaun Prince are bought out, the average age goes from 26.1 to 24.9. Meaning, in a year and a half, they would have lowered the average age from 30.2, which is the second oldest in the NBA at the end of the 2013 season, to 24.9, which will be one of the 5 youngest rosters in the NBA. And I know What's
That's
up?
with Gerald Wallace still on the roster.
That is with Gerald Wallace, who will probably be here forever. I think they're going to give him a lifetime contract to sit on the end of the bench. Yeah, with Wallace on the roster, and I understand they don't have elite young guys. I'm fully aware of that, and they need those guys. But Ainge has set them up to take a bunch of different hacks at getting those guys as soon as this summer. They also have cap space to throw at guys, and I know people want to say, oh, cap space, Boston, not going to work out. Well, guess what? Teams bring in players while they're not an elite team yet, and it ends up working out in a lot of cases because down the line, those players end up contributing. A couple guys off the top of my head, Wesley Matthews in Portland, right? They signed him, and they became a good team. He became one of the building blocks, even though he's not an elite player. And those type of things do happen pretty often. Dallas last summer with Monte Ellis, similar. So I think Ainge has done a really good job, but then again, it's all going to come down to how he drafts, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. I feel pretty good about the direction that they're going. Let's talk a little bit about Brad Stevens. I've seen a lot of Brad Stevens criticism on Twitter, more than I would have expected. What do you guys think of that? Do you have any critiques for Mr. Stevens? Do you think he's doing a great job, good job, an impossible job to do right now? Mark, what do you think?
I mean, right from the beginning, I thought he was a great hire, but I'm starting to have some concerns. One thing that he's amazing at is you hear him talk in the post-game interviews, and he's smart, and he's articulate, and he's well thought out, and you hear him speak, and you think, wow, he knows what he's talking about. And I think I've been convinced of that all along, but I'm not that I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I'm just not sure that he's ready for the NBA, which obviously makes sense. And I'm kind of disappointed that they weren't better to begin this season than they were. I thought they were going to get off to a slightly better start, be maybe a little closer to 500, and I wasn't convinced they were necessarily going to go on to this full-on fire sale rebuild. Because now, his general mantra is that he gets all the guys to play hard and hustle and does everything they can to win every game, and at this point, that's not even the direction you want to go in. Although they are still only 3 games out of the playoffs, which is unbelievable.
Do not say that. We cannot have that.
They're gonna win 4 out of 8 and be in the playoff race all of a sudden, just like that. So, this is a huge turning point or crossroads or whatever you want to call it for Stevens right now. Is how this team goes from here on out. Which he's not good at getting a rotation set. I wish he would just do that, pick the guys and go with them. Especially now, there's a clear direction, and that direction is the future and developing. It shouldn't be on trying to play veterans to win right now. So I think that's something he needs to do to start, is pick which guys are his 7, 8 main guys and go with them, and just get other guys to the end of the bench and not worry about it. And I want him to be a little more decisive and just figure out exactly what he wants to do and stick to it. But I'm not as sold on him as I was even a couple months ago.
Eric?
I'm not at all worried. I think last year Stevens was kind of a little timid because he didn't exactly know what he was walking into, and he had to do the whole rebuild and all the young guys, and you still had Rondo to work back into the fold, and you just kind of let guys play. You didn't really have a system. It was just kind of you do your thing, and then we'll work on it once we have a real team. And he still doesn't have a real team. He's working in the system more, which I like. He's giving this team more of an identity. But at the same time, for a couple-week stretch when they brought in Wright and Crowder and all these other guys, he had 15 guys who had legitimate gripes about getting playing time. He had all these guys who were like, how come I'm not playing? How come he's not playing? And we don't know what conversations are going on between Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens where Danny's like, I kind of need you to play this guy. Some teams are interested. They want to see what he can do. Throw him out there, give him some play. And so we don't know how much that rotation or not having the rotation was more on Brad being told, we want you to try this, or just him saying, I have so many legitimate NBA players, not superstars, but all these guys deserve minutes on the court. I can't say you 3, you 4 aren't playing at all because I'm going to go with these other guys, because then it's just you're going to ruin chemistry in the locker room. Guys are going to get to be malcontents. It's going to spill over into the other guys who are getting playing time. The young guys who are developing are going to see this and get bad habits. So now that I like what Mark said. Now that the roster's a little bit thinner, Brad can really show what he's going to do. It is going to be a process. My admiration for him or my thoughts on him being a good coach, they haven't changed at all. I think he needs to have the talent there, and he's developing that talent before we can really say, oh, he's a good coach, he's a bad coach.
Yeah, and I think my opinion on it is when Ainge brought in Stevens, he said, listen, it might be a year, it might be 2 years, but you're going to have to kind of follow my lead when it comes to the roster and the decisions being made until we can clear out some of these guys, some of these veterans, and then the keys are going to go over to Stevens, and I think we're just about there. Nelson and Prince need to be bought out. Bass needs to be dealt. Marcus Thornton, I think when you have one veteran, that's fine if he stays or if he goes. But the rotation, they're about to get to the point, and they're basically there now, where there isn't an overabundance of good players. In fact, there's not that many. So I think Stevens is going to be set up now, especially Green leaving. Green and Rondo combined, that was 65 minutes a game. That's a lot of playing time that opened up in the last 3 weeks. And I think, and then when you cut 2 veterans who want to go chase a ring, and they deserve to go chase a ring. I think Nelson and Prince are both good veterans. They shouldn't really be held hostage here. I think Ainge knows that. So you cut loose those guys, let them go jump onto a contender, and then you really have a young team, a 9-man rotation probably. You bring in some D-League guys to fill out the roster, and we start to see what Brad Stevens is. One huge positive of Stevens, I think they play hard almost all the time. There's been a few games lately that have tested that, but in general they've played really hard, and that leads to a lot of close games, which leads me to this frightening stat that I've actually been following for a while because I think it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. The Celtics are 0-76 in their last 76 games. They've trailed in the last 2 minutes. Anytime in the last 2 minutes they've trailed. They've not erased a lead of any amount since the Jeff Green buzzer beater in Miami, November 8th, 2013. Now, of the 76 games, 37 of them have been within 1 possession. So 0-37 in their last 1 possession games in the last 2 minutes. It's amazing. They will come back sometimes and tie the game or take a lead. Or in Washington, they took a 7-point lead in overtime after coming back, and they still lost. The other night, of course, they had the game-tying 3-pointer to send the game into overtime in Indy, and then they lost in overtime. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to put it all on Stevens, but they need to eventually win some of these games. Even the 06-07 Celtics, who sucked and lost a million games in a row. I can remember winning San Antonio that year, which was really good for them. They need to win a few cool games, along with losing plenty. But I do wonder about that because Brad Stevens overall is 1-79 in games that they trail in the last 2 minutes, and that's amazing. And some of that's not having a go-to scorer, but that is crazy to me that he's 1-79. I don't know.
That is a remarkable stat, and it's totally on the fact that they don't have a guy that they give the ball to take the last shot. But even by coincidence, I mean, you couldn't do that if you tried, probably.
No, it's amazing, and their shooting percentages and their everything's bad in the last couple minutes. And you're right, Mark. Some of it's to do with not having a go-to guy. Some of it's bad luck because you can't be that bad without some coincidence. Yeah. And I will put some on Stevens. I think you can't be the head coach and lose a million straight close games and not get any blame. Because
unless it's all part of the plan, they're just the greatest tank team of all time, in which case it would work.
And if they have an autobiography in 2030 when Brad Stevens' statue is being put next to Red's statue after he wins 5 titles in 6 seasons, starting off in 2018, then I will tip my hat to him as the greatest coach in the history of basketball. But I'm a little bit concerned. Before the game starts in about 10 minutes, we got I'd say 8 guys under the age of 26 on this roster. Actually no, 9 because Crowder. I was looking at the free agent. He's a free agent this summer. 9 guys. I'm gonna say a name, and you tell me if they're here the next time the Celtics make the playoffs. And I know that's a lot of projecting, but basically, do you think this is a piece for the future, or do you think this guy gets dealt, is allowed to leave in free agency, yada, yada, yada? So again, there's 9 guys under the age of 26, at least by my count on the current roster. So let's start off.
Hold on.
Okay.
That just make the playoffs or win a playoff series? Because like we were just saying, it doesn't take much to make the
It could be
playoffs
this year.
Well, the next time they are over 500 and make the playoffs.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so they're like a good team. I'm not saying they have to be a championship contender, but not a 32-50 team that makes the playoffs and makes us all blow our brains out because they get the 8th seed instead of the 8th pick. All right, let's start off with the guy who just signed a 4-year contract, Avery Bradley. Mark.
Yeah, he's around. I mean, he's pretty much untradeable with that deal right now, so he's not going anywhere. Whether he helps or not, he's going to be part of it.
Eric.
No, I think whatever they do, if they can get something for him, maybe. I mean, I think James Young is going to take his starting spot a lot quicker than people think, and I think Ainge is going to try to get rid of him somehow. I do not see as much. I loved Bradley for years when he was growing with this team, but his offense is still what it is, inconsistent. He'll get 22, he'll get 5. So I don't think that he'll be here when this team is good again.
No, I'm going to go with no, too. I was really against the signing for the money. I've been against the signing all year. I look at his numbers. His defensive impact has shriveled, and I won't put that all on him because I think they're using him differently. But if you're what they call him, the junkyard dog and the game changer and the greatest defensive guard we've ever seen, and Mike Gorman said we shouldn't trade him for anyone in the NBA besides Kevin Durant, and they said, what about James Harden? He said, no, not even James Harden. Yeah, you should be able to adapt your defensive game in that situation. I think he's overpaid. I think he's a $5 million player making $8 million. I would love to see him dealt, and I'm kind of projecting with my heart. But I say Avery Bradley's a no. And I just wrote these guys down in a random order. So my next person on the list is Marcus Smart. I'll just go first. Marcus Smart's here. Marcus Smart's your next captain. I'll go that far. He needs to go to the hoop more. We had a good article today about that. The guy is actually shooting not that poorly, but that guy got to the hoop at will in college. Go to the hoop, Marcus. Have some confidence in your drive game. Eric, I know what you're going to say, so just go.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
I think, yes, he'll still be around. I'm hoping that the fact that he's not driving is just his ankle isn't fully recovered yet.
That's a good point.
Ankle sprains take forever. From having done it myself, it takes forever. Even when you're officially healthy, you're still not. And he is shooting a lot better. His three-point, I hated it. I got so mad at him at the beginning. He's just launching from everywhere. And now I don't even mind it. He's come a long way in a little bit of time.
35%. 35% from 3. League average is 30.
That's for the whole season, right? That's not even like his more – I mean, it was terrible. I think he's around like 42 in his recent games even. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's been really good from deep. Next person again on my random list of names is Evan Turner. No, just get rid of Evan Turner now. I know he had a good stretch. Maybe he has trade value. Okay, the guy is just I don't know what it is about him, but my eyes and the advanced stats tell me the same thing, and that is enough for me. His offensive rating is bad. He turns the ball over 23% of his possessions. His shooting percentages, which were great to start the year but have never been good before, are crashing. Now down to 44% from the field after being around 50. Now down to 37% from 3 after being around 45 as recent as about 8 games ago. For his career, he's a 42% shooter and 32% from 3. He turns the ball over. He's sporadic defensively. He's a bad decision maker. He's 26 years old, so he's not old, but he's not young. No. Evan Turner, no. Trade Evan Turner for a second-round pick. Please. And put Marcus Smart. Evan Turner went 3 for 17 the other night. Just no. Get rid of Evan Turner. Mark, what do you say about Evan Turner?
When they signed him, I was really upset about the contract, which is shocking because it was like 2 years, $4 million. But just the fact that it was a 2-year contract made me so mad because either he's nothing and you just want him to fill a roster spot now, or you legitimately think he's a guy that can help you. And then why only sign him for 2 years? And he's been exactly what I thought he was going to be. He's the perfect guy suited to be the best player on a terrible team like the old Sixers team that he was on. So, I mean, you can ride it out for right now. I'd maybe pump up his stats, see anything you can get for him, but now he's definitely gone.
Eric?
Nope, not going to be here. He's going to run the course with that contract or get traded or just bought out. I do not see him as anything meaningful going forward.
All in agreement again, and I thank you guys, so I don't have to really yell at either of you because that was good. Kelly Olynyk next on my list. Let's go back to Eric. KO is Mimi Siku, the guy from Jungle Jungle. He looks just like him. Just Google that. But what do you think, KO? You're a big fan of Kelly Olynyk.
Schroeder, but I have Marcus Smart now, so I can't really complain about Schroeder. But yeah, I mean, Kelly's growing on me. I like his offensive game. I mean, I'm not going to say that it was a great pick because I still think there was other guys they could have got. But, yeah, I think he's going to be a rotation guy. I think he's going to be your first or second big off the bench if they don't trade him. And from what I'm reading, what I'm hearing, he might have some decent value. And Ainge might be like, this guy's not a starter. Let's trade him and see if we can get a starter out of him. So if he doesn't get traded, then, yeah, he's going to be probably your first or second big off the bench on a really good team.
Mark?
I can't for the life of me figure out how he does this little pump fake at the three-point line and then guys jump and then he walks in and does a scoop shot from 10 feet out. But it keeps working and he's effective and he's made a lot of improvements. He's a good shooter. He's coming a long way. I think this is probably jumping ahead to the next topic, but I think if you're going to keep him in Sullinger right now, I'd almost rather have Olynyk. So, yeah, I say sticks around.
We will do Sullinger next because, Mark, we've actually talked about this recently. In terms of stocks, my Kelly Olynyk stock is going like this, and my Jared Sullinger stock is going like this. And it doesn't just have to do with their stats, which are pretty even. Kelly Olynyk has more NBA skills. He's a better shooter than Sullinger, even though Sullinger is slowly improving. He's not quite as good a rebounder, but he is still a good rebounder. He's a better passer than Sullinger. And I think, weirdly enough, he's a better defender. They both put in effort. Sullinger is a high-effort guy. Olynyk is as well. I think Olynyk's a little bit better of a defender. And here's the other thing about Olynyk. I love his attitude. I love the way he plays. And I don't like how Sullinger pouts. Sullinger's a pouter. Sullinger, Jeff Green, and Avery Bradley are the emo crowd. I hated how they handled some things. They're kind of arrogant. For people who really have never accomplished anything in the NBA, especially, I won't put Bradley quite as much in that crew, but Green and Sullinger, they've not talked to the media a few times this year, and that pisses me off. Okay? Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Rajon Rondo always talk to the media. What the hell are you doing walking out, storming out without talking to the media? Jeff Green and Jared Sullinger. So I like Olynyk. I liked him as a draft pick. I think he's getting better. I love efficient offensive players. He is one. He's not a rim protector. I don't think he's a starter, but 22 minutes a game, I think he can be your first big man off the bench as long as you have another guy off the bench, a 7-footer with a pulse who can kind of, just play some defense. I think Olynyk's a keeper. Jared Sullinger, you just heard my spiel on him. I don't think Sullinger and Olynyk, as even two of your top three guys, start the season. I thought they might be able to survive together. I no longer think that. Sullinger's also going to be a free agent 1 year earlier. He's a free agent after next year. Granted, restricted free agent. They could match any offer. I would look into Sullinger deals as soon as you can. If you can get a first-round pick for him, maybe a first and a second or a first and a something else, something. I would look into trading Sullinger. I really would. So I'm going to say Sullinger's not here, and that's just he hasn't really taken a step forward this year, which has been disappointing. Let's go back to you, Mark, on Sully.
Yeah, I think that last sentence you said just sums it up perfectly. He hasn't taken a step forward. I thought this was his breakout year. I thought he was getting better at shooting. He was a great rebounder. He has good low post moves. I thought he was going to be like the guy who was going to symbolize like toughness and hustle, but he's not. He's, like you said, he's kind of been a whiner and sort of faded to the background. He's had some horrible slumps a couple different times over the course of the year, and yeah, he's just not. He hasn't seemed to develop at all since last season. And I think, look, right now they might still be able to get good value for him. And I don't want to say I think he may have already peaked, but it's possible he has. And that might be crazy to say, but I think, yeah, there's a good chance he might get dealt. I think of all the guys, his perceived value is maybe as high as his real value. In a lot of other situations, it's not like that. So he's one of the best trade options. So I'll say no. I think he's probably gone.
Eric.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. If you would have asked me this the same time last year, I would have said no way. Of course, we're gonna keep Sullinger around. You'll build around him. You'll get a great small forward, a great center, a great point guard, and you go from there. But I don't. He's undersized. I mean, he has size clearly. He's a big dude, but he's not tall. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't play above the rim. So if you're not going to do that, you need to do other things really, really, really well to make up for it, and he just doesn't. That jump shot is not looking any better. His rebounding isn't blowing anybody away. He's not really turning into that leader. Like this time last year, if Rondo's not on the team, you say who's the captain? It's Sullinger. Of course, it's Sullinger. He's like the heart and soul. He's going to take over for Kevin Garnett. That guy's not here anymore. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the change is, but it's not the same. And I, as much as I hate to admit it, I think Mark might be right. He may have peaked. He may not have been as great as we thought he was going to be. This just might be what he is, and that's not good enough.
What's funny to me is we had so many commenters when the Kevin Love stuff was going on. And I know Kevin Love, so far in the Cleveland situation, hasn't worked out at all. But, Kevin Love is so much better than Jared Sullinger. And people are trying to compare their first 2-year stats. And, Kevin Love's third year, I think he blew up to a 20-12 guy. And Sullinger, I think, is showing you that he does not have that in him. Not that I think he sucks. He doesn't suck. But I do. One of the biggest things I want is I want a team with attitude. I really do. I want to watch a young team that plays hard, plays with an edge. And even though I know Kelly Olynyk doesn't play with an edge, he plays his ass off. Marcus Smart plays his ass off. I like those guys a lot. And the next guy actually plays his ass off too, although, we got to wonder about his upside. Jay Crowder. I've been impressed by Crowder. He is, like I said, not as good as Gerald Wallace in his prime, but brings some of those Gerald Wallace qualities. I like how he's called out his teammates, saying they shouldn't let Brad Stevens take the blame after every single loss. I love that. Love how hard he plays. Shoots too many threes considering he sucks at them, but that seems to be a Celtics thing in general. He can pass a little bit. He can get to the hoop a little bit. He has a few big dunks on breakaway. I like Jay Crowder, and I wouldn't, considering how much cap space they'll have and how many roster spots, if you can get Crowder back on a cheap 2 or 3 year deal, he's only 24 years old. I say, why not bring Crowder back? I'm going to go with yes, just because I like him. Mark.
Yeah, I want to say yes because I think he's a great 7th, 8th man, a hustle guy off the bench just to even play defense or just put in to eat some minutes when you need a guy with energy. I think maybe he's going to actually show off a little bit now, and some other people around the league are going to take notice, and somebody else might pay him more than we're going to be willing to. So I think I'll say no, even though I wish the answer was yes.
All right, let's go, Eric.
I don't think it matters. I think guys that do what he can do are a dime a dozen. I think you could find another guy who does what he does, maybe even a little better, maybe a little worse, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to really move the needle either way.
Yeah, and I hear you on that. I don't think he's but I do like the idea of having guys like him who play so hard and take accountability and have some NBA skill on the roster, because you can't have 15, 20-year-olds. Maybe Philly can, but besides that, it's tough to do. I got 2 guys left on my list. Let's go Tyler Zeller. Let's go to you, Mark, first. Tyler Zeller.
Zeller's been their best player this year, I think, and I never saw that coming. I thought he was just a space filler, a guy to have a center, just so you could have a center. And I thought he was going to trail way off when they lost Rondo, and he still had some solid games. He's making shots. He's getting rebounds. I don't think he's your long-term center going forward, but I think he's a great backup center going forward. And so I never would have thought of him as really a factor in the long run, but I could be sold on it. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. What's his contract at?
He's got 1 year, 2.8 or 3 million. They picked up the Celtics. The Celtics picked up his 4th-year rookie option, in October. So he's got that 1 year left. Then he's a restricted free agent after next year.
So he's a restricted free agent then. So I'll say I bet we keep him. Who knows? They might get suckered into signing him to like the Avery Bradley type of deal and overpaying him for 8 or 9.
Yeah, well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's go, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird how this team, like, of course, so many other things have to happen, but if you have Zeller and Olynyk, you have your bench bigs, and it's weird how we're kind of building from the bench out. But I think with Olynyk and Zeller, you could have the guy. You've got your shooting, you got your defense. You have those guys coming out off the bench. I think that could be really nice. Depends on how much Zeller's going to want when he does hit restricted free agency. But yeah, keep him around. I see no reason why not.
And I'm pretty much with you guys. I think you're right, Eric. Him and Olynyk are kind of your third and fourth bigs on a good team, it's a weird way they're building the team. In my opinion, they have like 7 guys right now who are somewhere between the 6th and the 10th best player on a good team, which is not ideal. I'd like to have like one guy who's like a top 2 guy on a good team. That would be great. I'd probably trade a lot of the people on the team for that. But Zeller's good. He's got that efficient side to him. I like how he's the only guy on the team who doesn't shoot threes, right? He knows I can't shoot threes, so I'm just going to go inside, shoot 65%, play hard on defense. The Celtics are a better defensive team in the paint with him. He's really the only guy who brings that to the table. Now that the Brandon Wright era ended after like 9 minutes. So I like Zeller. I'd like to see them bring him back, but yeah, it depends. Am I going to give him $6 million a year? No. Would I give him, 4 if he plays like this for the next year and a half? Yeah, I'd give him like $4 million to stick around because you need role players, and you can't always get the elite talent first. It doesn't always work out that way. People say like, oh, well, nothing else matters because they don't have the top players yet. Well, that's what are they supposed to do? Not have players on the team get draft picks because they don't have those top 3 guys? It's not that simple. You need to get these other pieces together and hope that one of these, Marcus Smart becomes that guy. James Young becomes that guy. The guy they draft 6th overall becomes that guy. A great trade opportunity comes for another piece. Blah, blah, blah. You can't just erase your roster and wait for a top 3 guy to come around. So Zeller I like. And that brings me to James Young. I don't know how the hell you even answer this. We don't even know what James Young is. The guy, in the 2 games since Jeff Green's been inactive off the team, he's played a total of 13 minutes. He shot the ball 1 time. He missed it. I want to believe in James Young. I think there's a lot of talent there, but it's almost impossible to get a vibe off this guy. Is he, and I don't know this for sure, but is he kind of a knucklehead? Can he not play defense? Is he someone who's going to be in Brad Stevens' doghouse for a lot of the time? He's got a sweet stroke, and I want to believe in him. So I'll say yes, but I don't even know how you answer with James Young. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got all the potential in the world. He's shown some flashes. He's doing a lot of great things in the D League. Of course, other guys on the Celtics have gone nuts in the D League, and that hasn't translated to the NBA. But he's so young. He's got all the time in the world. I think he will eventually be this team's starting shooting guard, and I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I mean, the defense is an issue, but when you got Smart starting right next to you, he can pick up that slack. So I do think, even on the very teeny tiny sample we've seen of James Young, I liked it, and I think that he is going to be the guy that we go with.
Mark?
Yeah, Mike, I think you're right. There's a chance he could be a bit of a knucklehead. That whole car accident thing, we didn't know about that injury, is a bad sign. He could easily be a guy who doesn't care about defense and doesn't try that hard, but can score a lot of points on a bad team, like almost in the Evan Turner mold, but more of a shooter.
Right.
I think, yeah, he'll definitely still be around for a while. I can't imagine he's going to do anything that bad that's going to make them want to trade him. And he's so young and so raw that they're going to want to give him as long as they can to see what his potential really is. So I think he'll be around, but I'm definitely not banking on it, and I'm not counting on him to be a significant contributor necessarily.
Okay, so in terms of who we think is going to be here for the long haul, if we take our crowdsourced data, Avery Bradley's gone, Marcus Smart's in, Evan Turner's gone, Kelly Olynyk's in, Tyler Zeller's in, James Young's in, Sullinger and Crowder are gone. So we think the Celtics have 4 pieces that will be here the next time they're good. James Young, Marcus Smart, Kelly Olynyk, and Tyler Zeller. Add add two or three more of those guys with your 5 picks this draft, and then you start to have an interesting young team. But you're not there yet. Random thing, looking at all these second-round picks, the Celtics need to start storing guys in Europe, don't they? They have all these second-round picks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why not? Why not store some guys over there? Real quick, I want to touch on 2 NBA things before we go. Number 1, Doc trading for Austin Rivers. I think this is hilarious. I think it shows why coaches should not be GMs unless they're geniuses, which I don't think Doc is. I think Doc's a very good people person, a good manager of egos, and a good coach. But I do not think he should be running that team, and this is a extraordinarily dumb move in my opinion. Austin Rivers is horrible. He's Adam Morrison. He's Adam Morrison without the knee injury. So inefficient. Go
How
ahead.
much do you believe that all of his coaching staff talked him into this? Like, there was all these stories about, like, Doc didn't want to do it, but then all these guys around him were like, it's okay, go for it. It'll be fine. Like, this is his son. This is going to shape the future of his son's life. And he's going to be like, oh, well, I didn't want to do it at first, but after, Larry Drew talked to me, I'm like, I'm all for it. No, like, it seems a little fishy. I'm not entirely sure. It's not going to work. I mean, he's just going to sit the bench, and maybe if a bunch of people get hurt, he'll play, and he'll play horribly because he hasn't lived up to nearly anything of how much he was hyped. I mean, if I'm remembering right, he was picked with Anthony Davis, right? That was that same draft?
10th overall.
Yeah. So Anthony Davis went first, and then they took Austin Rivers 10th. And it's like, wow, night and day. I mean, that's the way the draft works. You get a superstar who's, 21, 22, who looks better than LeBron, or you have Austin Rivers, who's 23, 24, and might be already out of the league. So I just don't like it.
I will take, if the Celtics can get Anthony Davis this summer, I will take another. I'll take 4 Austin Rivers and 1 Anthony Davis.
You could trade their entire roster for just Anthony Davis, and I would do it in a second with no cap room.
I'm in too. Mark, what do you think about Doc doing this?
Maybe Doc thinks like he can protect Austin. Maybe that's part of it. Like, I'll just stash him on my bench, and I can keep him from getting ruined as like an NBA player. Maybe he can work him in for like 4 minutes a game and get something valuable out of him. But like, to your point that like he was initially against it, and then his coaches talk him into it. That doesn't make any sense. I can't figure that on any level. So it's bizarre. Yeah, I think Doc the GM is not good for the Clippers at all. They're actually Bill Simmons mentioned this on the podcast the other day. The Clippers aren't doing that great.
Nope.
And they're only like 4 games into the playoffs in the West. Like, it's a remote chance, but there's a chance they could end up in the lottery this year.
I was actually going to say that, Mark. It's 100% true. I mean, they're in 6th in the West, but the Spurs are right behind them, and eventually they're going to start trying. Yeah,
Thunder are getting in.
And the Thunder are going to get in, and Phoenix is a good team. They might
Phoenix
not get
is the wild card, yep.
So, yeah, the Clippers, and there's been a little bit of, I mean, Simmons sees them every game. He's talking about how they look like they don't like each other. Some of the pieces don't fit. Jamal Crawford's unhappy because he doesn't have a contract. Blake Griffin hasn't been the same guy this year as he was last year when he was so good last year. Yeah, they have some issues. DeAndre Jordan needs a new contract. That'd be awesome. If they even got, with the 14th pick, the last pick in the lottery, hell yes. That would be unbelievable for Doc, who's there busy training for his son. Good thing Brad Stevens' kids are like 11. We don't have to worry about that for a while. The other thing I want to talk about is the Cavaliers. A disaster. 500. Behind the Milwaukee Bucks on January 12th, which is astounding. LeBron's obviously been hurt. I think you can see LeBron's still pretty good because I think they're like 1-7 since he went down. So LeBron's still good, but the rest of those pieces, oh my God. And LeBron, for a 30-year-old, has the same amount of tread on his tires as a 36-year-old. So there's some concerns there. Do you think it blows up? Do they fire Blatt? Do they get rid of Love? Does LeBron leave? How does the Cavaliers saga end over the next really couple of years, Mark?
I mean, I've been saying all along since the very beginning, since before LeBron even signed his contract, when there was still speculation, I'm like, he might work a way into this where he could opt out after a year if it doesn't go well. And then he did, and everybody thinks, no, it's just because of the way the contracts are going and the new TV deal. But he's not an idiot. He didn't know for sure if it was going to work right, and it's kind of been the worst-case scenario. Like, have you seen the GIFs and the Vines where he's like boxing out David Blatt in the timeout, and Blatt like can't get into coach because LeBron's always there like taking over. Blatt's just like a guy who happens to be there. Whether or not he gets fired, I don't think really matters in terms of the long run. But the Cavs right now, they're further from having home court in the first round. They're 6th seed. They're further behind the Bullets than they are to the Celtics.
The Bullets! Wow.
The Bullets, right, sorry. The Wizards. I think the Cavs are 6 or 6.5 back of Washington, and the Celtics are only 5 or 5.5 back of the Cavs. I mean, they're a disaster right now. You put them in the West, they don't even make the playoffs.
Right.
For them to turn around, like, even if they start playing well, they're not going to have home court advantage in the first round. They would have to have a miraculous second half of the season to get up into the top 4 teams in the East. So they're still the title favorites, I think. If you go, I haven't looked in the past couple days, but when I checked like 4 days ago, they still had the best odds, which blows my mind. And I think they'll all stick around, but it might not happen. And I'd be so excited if it failed and it all blew up on them.
Eric, what do you think?
I mean, how long did it take the Heat to gel? I don't think it took half a season.
No, they were never this bad.
And we're at half a season now. It was okay to say, we'll wait and see, let them get their time together. Let's see. They're almost 40 games into the season. Like, this is a huge problem. Will they still work it out? Yeah, because the East is horrid. They could coast for another month and then still turn it on late and maybe even still get home court advantage because the East is that weak. But it doesn't look good. I don't know. It's not an indictment on LeBron because we know who LeBron is. I don't necessarily think it's an indictment on Love because of how they're using him or not using him, as it were. I think it's more of an indictment on Kyrie. I mean, is Kyrie really that good? He puts up stats, but they were supposed to make the playoffs last year with Luol Deng and Dion Waiters and all these other guys. That was a playoff team. No, it wasn't. They missed the playoffs. So I think that this is really showing that Kyrie might not be the guy that everybody thinks he is. He can put up stats all day, but does he win games? No, not so far.
Yeah, I think Kevin Love, how bad they are when he's on the floor defensively. And I know people knew that already, but to not bring in anybody, now they have Mozgov, but wow, they don't have anybody who could stop anybody, and their bench is terrible. They get rid of Waiters, and now it's just awful. They just signed a bunch of old guys that LeBron knows. It's like, oh yeah, like yeah, I know James Jones, I know Mike Miller. Oh yeah, like Sean Marion's cool. Like I played against him before, and it's like those guys suck now, and it's gonna be a challenge for them to go 8 or 9 deep against some of these deeper teams. Some of these teams in the East, who might not be great teams, have a lot of depth. Atlanta has a ton of depth. Washington has some. Toronto, has a few guys who come off that bench who can score. Of course, Chicago is a really good team overall, as long as they don't fall apart, which is a legitimate concern. But yeah, they're in trouble. At the same time, if you were going to go up against them in the playoffs, how excited would you be about it? I still wouldn't be that excited because they still have all the talent in the world. Absolutely, and we've seen before, if they sit LeBron another 10 games and they're 23 and 25, let's say, he could come back. They could do what they were doing before he got hurt, win 60% of the games the rest of the way, end up at 45 wins, probably the 6th seed. And then, yeah, if the Cavaliers are healthy, playing a 3 seed, let's say Washington or Toronto, and LeBron is healthy, who are you betting on? Cleveland or Washington? Even with Washington having home court, I would take Cleveland. Not that Washington couldn't win, but yeah, if they're healthy, I'm probably taking them against anyone in the East that's not Chicago if Chicago's healthy.
Yeah, I'd take them in round 1, but then I wouldn't take them in round 2 and then the conference finals. Like, let's say they get Washington, then they go to Chicago, then they go to Atlanta. Atlanta's the Spurs right now. Like, I wouldn't take anybody over Atlanta in the playoffs unless they had home court. It's crazy.
Atlanta's been unbelievable. And that's the other guy, that's Budenholzer, the guy from the Spurs. And they show that what the Celtics are doing, trying to develop a bunch of three-point shooters, is a smart thing. The Celtics just don't have the personnel for it. Everyone on the Hawks shoots threes. Like every dime down, and they shoot 39% of the team. They have Kyle Korver shoots like Kyle Korver is just a
Korver.
machine. That guy is unbelievable. But they got their whole starting five. You got Millsap. You got that guy Damari Carroll. I mean, Teague's been great. They got a few bigs off the bench who shoot threes. They got some other guys who just, wow, they're deep and they're fun. But yeah, Cleveland. It's hard for me to write them off. But if they go down in round 1 to Washington, holy crap!
To Pierce, how great will that be? Pierce knocks LeBron out of the playoffs. I'm so excited to see that happen.
That would be tremendous. It's impossible not to root for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be cool. Pierce is on a legitimate Eastern Conference contender. I don't know if Washington's gonna go into Golden State or Portland or whoever, San Antonio, obviously, whoever wins the West. It's hard to see them winning it all, but the Wiz are pretty legit. All right, this has been the longest episode of Celtics Life 5 ever, but it's been a good one, and we got into a lot of good conversations. So we'll wrap up. Mark, Eric, appreciate you guys coming on, as always.
Yeah,
and let's do it again soon. Monday nights seem to work pretty well for us.
Yeah, generally.
Pretty well for me most weeks. But thanks, guys, and hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Celtics currently up 2. The end of the first quarter against the Pelicans. I saw Jay Crowder score the first 4 points. As we were talking about him, Jay Crowder scored 4 points, so he wants to stick around, I think. But all right, thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys later.
All right.